Forget the boring trucks you see every day. Transport history is hiding the most insane and bizarre mechanical monsters you won't believe actually existed. From massive 8-wheel drive giants with the power to crush any terrain to tiny, freakish machines that defy all laws of physics and logic. This isn't science fiction. These are real flesh and steel machines that once ruled the streets. Today we are unlocking the secret files on the 10 most unique and rare vintage trucks in the world. Brace yourself, buckle up tight, and hit that subscribe button right now because this trip into the past is about to get incredibly bumpy. Let's start with a true heavyweight champion from the United Kingdom, the Scammell Highwayman. If you grew up in Britain between the 1950s and 70s, this wasn't just a truck. It was the undisputed king of the road. Produced by Scammell lorries, the Highwayman was iconic for its distinct, almost aggressive bonneted design that looked like a bulldog ready to bite. While most trucks of the era were transitioning to flat-front cab-over designs to save space, Scammell stuck to their guns with this massive protruding nose. It wasn't built for speed, topping out at around 30 to 40 miles per hour, but it was built to pull absolutely anything. What makes the Highwayman truly unique is its legendary status among fairground showmen. Originally designed for heavy haulage and general transport, this truck found a second life, pulling massive fairground rides and electric generators. Why? Because it was built like a tank with a solid steel chassis. It was often configured as a ballast tractor, a short, heavy truck loaded with concrete weights to generate enough traction to pull incredible loads up to 50 or even 100 tons. The engines, often sourced from Gardner or Leyland, were loud, reliable beasts that could run forever, provided you didn't mind the deafening noise inside the cabin. Visually, it is unmistakable due to the motif on the radiator grille and those singular round headlamps sitting proudly on the fenders. Later models even pioneered the use of glass-reinforced plastic, fiberglass for the bonnet, a revolutionary move in the 1960s that prevented rust and reduced weight. Driving one was a workout. It had no power steering and the heater was practically non-existent. Today, a restored Highwayman is a piece of industrial art. But while the Scammell was busy hauling massive carnival rides across Britain, over in Italy, engineers were building a truck so small you could almost park it in the Scammell's glove box. If the Scammell is a Great Dane, the Piaggio Ape Pentaro is a Chihuahua trying to pull a sled. You have probably heard of the Piaggio Ape, the famous three-wheeled Italian delivery scooter, but the Pentaro is something much weirder. The name comes from the Greek word for five, because this is a five-wheeled tractor-trailer. Yes, Piaggio actually built a miniature semi-truck based on a scooter engine. It was introduced in the early 1960s as a solution for navigating the incredibly narrow, winding streets of ancient Italian cities, where a full-size truck would simply get stuck between buildings. The engineering is hilarious but brilliant. The driver sits on a saddle, steering with motorcycle handlebars, but behind him is a professional fifth-wheel coupling, just like on a giant 18-wheeler. It was powered by a tiny two-stroke engine producing barely enough horsepower to reach 40 miles per hour downhill. Despite its size, it was rated to carry loads of up to 2,500 LIAZ, 700 kg, making it a serious tool for transporting vegetables, wine, or building materials. Because it was an articulated vehicle, it could turn in extremely tight circles, making it the ultimate urban delivery weapon for tight corners. However, driving the Pentaro was terrifying. The stability was questionable, and with a heavy load, braking required foresight and prayer because the trailer brakes were mechanical. Today, the Pentaro is one of the rarest versions of the Ape family. Collectors go crazy for them because they represent a time when Italy was rebuilding itself, and no idea was too crazy if it helped get the job done. It looks like a toy brought to life, but it worked hard for a living. From the tiny streets of Italy, we now jump to the rugged terrain of Czechoslovakia to meet a truck that laughs in the face of mud, snow, and gravity. When it comes to off-road trucking, there is one name that stands above the rest, Tatra, and the Tatra 138 is the machine that cemented that reputation. Produced in Czechoslovakia from 1959 to 1971, This truck is an engineering marvel that defies convention. Unlike almost every other truck on the planet that uses a ladder frame chassis, the Tatra 138 is built around a unique central backbone tube. Imagine a giant steel pipe running down the center of the truck, protecting all the drive shafts inside. This makes the truck incredibly rigid and virtually twist-proof, allowing it to carry payloads of over 12 tons across broken terrain. But the real magic lies in its swing axles. Each wheel moves independently, allowing the Tatra 138 to crawl over boulders, ditches, and deep mud that would snap a normal truck in half. Powering this beast was the T928 engine, an air-cooled V8 diesel producing around 180 horsepower. Why air-cooled? Because water freezes in the Siberian winter and boils in the desert summer. Air does neither. Tatra engines were designed to work anywhere, from the freezing taiga to the scorching tropics, without a radiator to worry about. Top speed was around 45 mph, but off-road it was unstoppable. The design of the 138 is also beautiful in a functional way. The rounded hood, often called the Tatra Smile, wasn't just for style, it provided excellent visibility for the driver and better aerodynamics. These trucks were exported to over 40 countries and became legends in construction and mining. Drivers often claimed that the only thing that could stop a Tatra 138 was running out of fuel. It is a rugged, unstoppable force of nature that proves complex engineering can be incredibly durable. The Tatra 138 was built to conquer continents, but our next vehicle was built for an island nation with very specific rules about size. Welcome to the strange world of Japanese K trucks. In post-war Japan, the government created a tax class for tiny vehicles to get the population mobile. Enter the Aichi machine industry and their masterpiece, the Coney 360 Wide. Don't let the name wide fool you. There is nothing wide about this truck by American standards. It is so narrow that two large adults sitting inside would be practically hugging. Introduced in the 1960s, the Coney 360 Wide is a masterclass in space efficiency, featuring a cab-over design that pushed the wheels to the absolute corners to maximize the cargo bed length. Underneath the seats lies a tiny air-cooled two-cylinder boxer engine displacing just 354 cc that is smaller than most modern motorcycles. It produced roughly 18 horsepower, which was just enough to propel the lightweight truck and a payload of about 770 LIAZ, 350 kg, to a top speed of maybe 50 mph on a good day. Yet this little workhorse was the backbone of Japanese small businesses. It delivered tofu, rice, and electronics through the bustling streets of Tokyo and Osaka, fitting into alleys that no other vehicle could enter. What makes the Coney stand out today is its rarity and its face. The front fascia has a distinct, almost robotic look with low-mounted headlights and a simple metal grille. Unlike its competitors like the Subaru Sambar, the Coney is largely forgotten, which makes finding one today a huge event for collectors. Driving one is a visceral experience. With zero crumple zones, you are sitting right on top of the front wheels, feeling every bump in the road. It's cute, it's terrifying, and it's deeply charming. The Coney used a tiny air-cooled engine to save space, but our next German contender used air cooling for a completely different reason: reliability. If Germany had Mercedes and America had Ford, Spain had Pegaso, and the Pegaso Comet was the truck that put the entire nation on wheels during the economic boom of the 1960s and 70s. Manufactured by NASA, this truck bore the famous flying horse logo, a symbol of power and speed. The Comet wasn't just a vehicle, it was the pride of the Spanish automotive industry. With its boxy cab-over design and the distinctive cross-shaped grille, it dominated the highways from Madrid to Barcelona, becoming the undisputed king of long-haul transport on the Iberian Peninsula. Beneath the cab lay a 6.5-liter inline-six diesel engine pumping out 125 horsepower. That might sound modest today, but back then it was a powerhouse, allowing the truck to reach a top speed of around 60 mph, 95 km/h, while fully loaded. Pegaso was famous for the distinctive roar of its exhaust and its incredible durability. Drivers often tell stories of loading the truck with over 18,000 lbs, 8 tons of cargo, frequently exceeding legal limits, yet the Comet would still climb the steep mountain passes of the Pyrenees without breaking a sweat. Today, the Pegaso Comet is remembered as the truck that built modern Spain. It hauled bricks to build hotels, oranges for export, and the hopes of a growing economy. Although the Pegaso brand was eventually acquired by Iveso, the legacy of the flying horse lives on in the hearts of vintage truck enthusiasts. Seeing a restored Comet rolling down the road is like watching an old gladiator who still has his strength. From the Spanish giant, we return to Italy for another three-wheeled oddity that tried to challenge the dominance of the Piaggio Ape. When you think of Italian scooters, you think of two names: Vespa, made by Piaggio, and Lambretta, made by Innocenti. This rivalry didn't stop at scooters, it extended into the world of utility trucks. While Piaggio had the Ape, Innocenti answered with the Lambro series, and the Lambro 550 is arguably the peak of that lineage. Launched in the mid-1960s, this wasn't just a scooter with a box. It was a serious attempt to make a three-wheeled truck that felt like a car, featuring a fully enclosed steel cabin to protect the driver from the elements. However, unlike a car, you still steered it with handlebars. Imagine sitting in a metal box, shifting gears with your hand on the handlebar clutch, and listening to the buzz of a 198cc two-stroke engine right underneath you. It was noisy, it vibrated, and it smelled of oil and gasoline. The 550 in the name referred to its payload capacity class. That's right, this tiny tricycle could carry over 1,200 lobbies, 550 klar of cargo. That is an incredible weight-to-size ratio, essentially allowing it to carry its own weight in bricks or produce. Visually, the Lambro 550 is distinct from the Ape. It has a squarer, more industrial look, often described as utilitarian chic. In Italy, these were the lifeblood of small villages used by bakers, builders, and farmers to navigate tight cobblestone streets. Sadly, when the Innocenti factory closed, the Lambro faded into obscurity faster than the Ape. Finding a working Lambro 550 today is rare. They are mechanical time capsules of an era when Italy was getting back to work, one tiny, smoky load at a time. The Lambro was a lightweight sprinter, but our next truck is a heavyweight marathon runner that carried the economy of the entire Eastern Bloc. If you lived in Eastern Europe during the Cold War, you saw this truck every single day. The LIAZ 706 series is not just a vehicle, it is a symbol of socialist transport. While the Model 706 RT was the original legend, the LIAZ 706 MT, which stands for Modernized Trambus, took the platform to a new level in the late 1960s. The term Trambus referred to its cab-over-engine design, which gave it a flat face resembling a bus or a tram. It was the direct evolution of the famous Skoda trucks and became the standard heavy truck for everything from garbage collection to international long-haul trucking. The LIAZ 706 MT was powered by an improved M634 inline-six diesel engine displacing nearly 12 liters. It wasn't fast, topping out at around 45 to 50 mph, 75 km/h, and it certainly wasn't quiet, but it had torque for days. The payload capacity was significant, often rated for around 9 tons on the truck itself, plus a trailer. The design of the cabin was surprisingly spacious for its time, often featuring a sleeper berth for drivers who spent weeks on the road. The most distinct feature was its large, friendly face with big round headlights and a split windshield. It had a soft, bouncing suspension that made the cabin sway like a boat, a feeling many retired truck drivers remember with a mix of nostalgia and motion sickness. These trucks were exported all over the communist world, from Cuba to Vietnam. They were simple machines that you could fix with a hammer and a wrench. While Western trucks were adding electronics and comforts, the LIAZ remained a purely mechanical beast. Today, seeing a LIAZ 706 MT on the road is a rare treat, a smoking, rumbling reminder of a fallen empire's industrial might. The LIAZ was a conventional four-wheeler, but in Japan, Mazda decided that three wheels were enough. even for a truck the size of a house. When we say three-wheel truck, you think of the tiny Piaggio or Lambretta we just discussed. But Mazda had a different idea. They thought, why don't we make a three-wheeler that is massive? The result was the Mazda T2000, the crowning glory of Japan's obsession with three-wheeled cargo haulers. This is not a K-truck. It is a legitimate heavy-duty vehicle that is over 20 feet, 6 meters long. Produced from 1962 to 1974, the T2000 looks like a spaceship from a 1950s comic book, with a long, narrow hood leading to a single front wheel and a wide two-seat cabin behind it. It was the most powerful in its class, boasting a 2.0-liter, four-cylinder, water-cooled engine putting out about 80 horsepower. This allowed it to carry a payload of 2 tons, which was impressive for a tricycle. It could reach speeds of up to 60 miles per hour, 100 km/h, which must have been a frightening experience. The main advantage of this bizarre layout was a ridiculously tight turning radius. You could drive this 20-foot giant into a narrow timber yard or a crowded construction site, spin it around on a dime thanks to that single front wheel, and drive right out. The T2000 was widely used in construction and logging, earning a reputation for toughness. However, driving it required skill. If you took a corner too fast while empty, the stability was exciting, to say the least. As Japan's highways improved and speeds increased, the unstable three-wheelers fell out of favor and were replaced by conventional trucks. Today, the Mazda T2000 is a highly coveted collector's item. It represents the pinnacle of a unique evolutionary branch of the automotive tree that simply stopped growing. The Mazda T2000 looks like science fiction, but our next truck looks like it drove straight out of a history book from the 1930s. The Praga RN is a time traveler. First introduced in 1933 in Czechoslovakia, this truck was so good, so reliable, and so essential that it remained in production for nearly 20 years, surviving World War II and the communist takeover. The RN stands for Rychly Nákladní, which translates to fast cargo. By modern standards, it wasn't fast, topping out at roughly 50 km/h, 80 km/h, but in the 1930s that was a marvel of performance. The design is pure classic elegance with a long square hood, separate flowing fenders, and large headlamps mounted on a chrome bar. Under the hood lay a 3.5-liter, 6-cylinder gasoline engine producing about 70 horsepower. It was a thirsty engine, but it was incredibly simple to maintain. During the war, it served as a military transport, an ambulance, and a supply truck. After the war, it rebuilt the country. It was the fire truck that saved villages, the bus that took workers to factories, and the delivery truck that brought food to cities. The payload was rated at around 3 tons, making it a versatile medium-duty truck that could go anywhere. What makes the Praga RN special is its simplicity. It was built before planned obsolescence existed. The parts were heavy, over-engineered, and designed to be repaired indefinitely. Drivers had to double-clutch every gear shift and wrestle the non-assisted steering wheel, but they trusted the Praga with their lives. Seeing one today at a vintage show is like looking at a rolling monument to the resilience of the mid-20th century. The Praga was a Czech legend, but for our final entry, we have to talk about the truck that motorized the entire Soviet Union. We end our list with the most produced truck in the history of the Soviet Union, the GAZ 51. If you look at old footage of Russia, China, or North Korea from the 1950s and 60s, 90% of the trucks you see are GAZ 51s. Over 3.4 million of these units were built. It was the Ford F-150 of the communist world, everywhere, doing everything. The design was heavily influenced by the American Studebaker US-6 truck sent to Russia during World War II, but Soviet engineers adapted it for even harsher conditions and lower quality fuel. It featured a simple 3.5-liter inline-6 engine producing 70 horsepower, giving it a modest top speed of around 45 mph, 70 km/h. Early models even had wooden cabins to save steel, though later versions were all metal. With a payload of 2.5 tons, it wasn't a giant, but it was tough. It wasn't comfortable and the suspension was stiff, but it was virtually unstoppable in mud and snow thanks to its high ground clearance and robust drivetrain. It taught millions of people how to drive and how to fix an engine with basic tools. The GAZ 51 is fascinating because it is the ancestor of modern trucking in half the world. It was exported to Poland as the Lublin 51, to North Korea as the Sungri 58, and to China as the Yuejian NJ130. It is a vehicle that lacks the glamour of the Scammell or the quirkiness of the Mazda, but its sheer impact on human history is undeniable. It is the humble hero of the working class that literally built nations. Our journey discovering history's 10 most bizarre and unique vintage trucks ends here. From the unbelievable power of the Tatra to the adorable tininess of the Pentaro, engineers of the past were truly unafraid of the craziest challenges. Which machine impressed you the most? Leave a comment below. If you found this video interesting, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to join us in exploring more mechanical legends. Thank you for riding along and see you in the next video.